They came without warning. The skies over New Darwin cracked open like the shell of a rotten egg, and out spilled the Empire's finest, tall, armored beasts bred for war, their ships humming with alien technology. The people of Earth had always known something was out there, but we were too busy tearing each other apart to prepare. Or so the Empire thought. Their scouts had studied our wars, our history, our failures. They watched us kill each other in deserts and cities, slaughtering for oil, power, religion. They saw division, chaos, and weakness. What they didn't understand, what they never could, was that humans weren't weak because we fought. We were strong because we never stopped fighting. I was in the wreckage of Pittsburgh when the first wave hit. Not much left of the city by then. Years of internal collapse had left it hollowed, barely breathing. I was just another grunt, another ex-soldier trying to stay fed. Name doesn't matter. I've buried it deep with the bodies of the Empire's warriors. What mattered was survival, and we'd had a hell of a lot of practice with that. The Empire's warriors looked like gods when they landed, 8 feet tall, plated in shimmering armor, their language a static screech of superiority. They gave no warnings, no offers of peace, just a single, blaring message translated through every screen. You are unfit to rule yourselves. Submit or be annihilated. Most governments bent the knee within hours. Cowards. They'd seen their people starving, nations crumbling, and thought submission meant survival. But the rest of us, the forgotten, the unwanted, the angry, knew better. We had no nations, no flags, no presidents left worth a damn. We had nothing to lose, and that made us dangerous. The resistance didn't start with a speech. It started with a shovel to an Empire soldier's throat. Some drunk in what used to be Detroit decided he wasn't going to kneel, and when he took one of those giants down with nothing but raw rage and rusted steel, something shifted. We saw it. We felt it. The fear started to bleed out of us, replaced by something sharper. Hate, maybe. Pride, definitely. Whatever it was, it spread like wildfire. They sent their best, their elite shock troopers into the worst parts of Earth, expecting us to beg. We laughed in their faces. I led a cell out of the ruins of Pennsylvania. 5 men, 2 women, all killers in some form or another. We didn't wear uniforms, didn't fly banners. Our weapons were stolen, broken, patched together with wire and duct tape. But we knew how to fight dirty. The Empire didn't. We set traps. We hunted in packs. They had drones. We had IEDs made from trash and fuel. They had armor. We had bullets laced with acid. They had strategy. We had rage. They called us insects. They called us diseased. I watched a commander scream that we were beneath their notice right before one of my men shoved a pipe bomb into his breathing vent. The explosion lit up the night like fireworks. By month 2, the skies weren't so full of their ships anymore, but they didn't stop. The Empire doubled down. More troops, heavier weapons, giant siege walkers that could flatten a building with one step. They thought brute force would do what fear hadn't. It was almost cute. They didn't understand the one rule of Earth. You push hard enough, and even the broken rise up. They didn't expect a species that had survived extinction-level events, genocide, nukes, and their own stupidity to suddenly unite. But we did. Not all of us, but enough. In the silence between battles, we'd listen to their transmissions. They couldn't understand why we kept fighting. "They are primitives," one voice said. "Why do they not submit?" That's when we smiled. Because they came thinking they were gods, and we were about to show them how humanity deals with false gods. The next few weeks turned cities into graveyards, not just for us, but for them. We didn't have air superiority. We didn't have fleets or EMPs or coordinated global defenses. What we had was instinct, hate, and a level of endurance the Empire had never witnessed. Every street became a trap. every sewer a tunnel of death. The Empire thought it could use its towering mech suits and thermal scanners to flush us out, but they forgot something important. Humans lived in filth. We thrived in it. We'd been crawling through garbage and breathing in poison for centuries. Radiation, chemical waste, viral outbreaks. These weren't war crimes to us. They were just Tuesday. I remember one night in the hollowed remains of Atlanta. The Empire had deployed a full Hunter-class unit, 10-foot apex killers with scanning drones, mounted cannons, and AI-assisted reflexes. They marched like death itself, tearing down buildings to root out resistance. We were down to 6, half-starved, out of ammo, morale hanging by a thread. But one of the kids in our group, some wiry mechanic from old Mexico, had rigged the entire subway line with enough C4 to vaporize a freight train. We waited until they entered the tunnel, then sealed the exits and lit the fuse. The blast thundered through the earth like a god's heartbeat. Rubble and metal, concrete and limbs, it all shot skyward in a plume of dust and fire. We found pieces of that Hunter unit scattered 2 blocks away. Their elite troopers, those arrogant, gene-edited bastards, were just meat once we took their toys away. But this wasn't just about traps or clever tricks. It became psychological. We started broadcasting messages over their own frequencies. Old human war songs, laughter, sometimes just the sounds of their own dying soldiers screaming. It broke them. You could hear the panic creeping into their voices during command calls. They started sending in their lower classes first, expendables, slaves from conquered planets. Their so-called empire of unity? Nothing but fear and control. And when those lower-class conscripts saw how we fought, some of them began defecting. I met one, name unpronounceable, looked like a walking jellyfish wrapped in armor. We called him Ribs because his chest looked like a cracked xylophone. He turned on his handlers during a skirmish, took 3 plasma bolts to the back to warn us of an ambush. He died grinning, a human expression he'd learned from us. The tide didn't turn all at once. It came in blood, sweat, and betrayal. For every Empire soldier we killed, they glassed entire neighborhoods in retaliation. Their orbiters could incinerate cities from the sky. We had to keep moving, keep hiding. But that's when the worst mistake of their campaign happened. They bombed New Omaha, not a major city anymore, just a big refugee camp full of women, kids, old men, nothing strategic, no weapons stockpile. They hit it anyway, burned it to ash. Live feed showed mothers clutching blackened babies, skin melting like candle wax. I watched it with a hand on my rifle, and something in me snapped. We weren't just resisting after that. We were hunting. You know that old saying about cornered animals? Humans are cornered animals with nuclear scars and thousands of years of hate in their bones. We don't fight fair. We fight to win. So we stopped playing defense, started taking the fight to them. My squad tripled in size in a week. Half were ex-cons, others were former military, and a few were just angry civilians who didn't care if they died as long as they took one of the bastards with them. We hit supply lines, sabotaged drop points, even managed to hijack one of their smaller ships. Piloting it was hell. It responded to neural input, not human controls, but we figured out how to crash it into one of their mobile command units. The explosion leveled 6 city blocks. Worth it. Every victory cost us, though. We didn't have medbays or stims. We had duct tape, alcohol, and pain. If someone lost a leg, they either bled out or learned to crawl. We buried our own in holes we